Okay. Found something. Dad! Dad! And it's crazy. Just how this is our 75. Just crazy, right? I'm just kidding, guys. I'll calm down. Calm down. But speaking of that thing, Schmoeminati kind of confirmed, or at least probably by Spectacular. I don't think they'll really reveal it sooner than Spectacular, unless there's something else to try to unravel besides what has been revealed in these cutscenes. Finally, some cutscenes. Some legitimately good cutscenes. And who else to ask for but Guy? If you're not going to give him anything match-wise anyway to thrive off of, may as well just ask him to do what he does best and make it work in the setting that he has. And this time around, compared to the previous times when it was still more involved in the matches and stuff, I mean, to cut a promo was fine if you saw the full promo, which apparently, really, Nerd Chronic couldn't even do anything with it when he had, or at least he didn't feel that he could cut the whole thing out, probably, is what it was. But, yeah, man. And speaking of, Smash, and before we get back to that, link in the description below. Just GoFundMe page. Maybe you could kind of watch one half of Smashathon. I think the channel's still up. I don't know. Excuse me. But yes, as far as I'm concerned, that's what's happened. That's where the bracket turned into. Mine was already technically busted, or at least not as much as my heart has been throughout this entire season. I'd be happier to see a Dungeon Cup. Would I have liked it better if Smash was involved in it? Yeah, but he's got a bigger fight to battle, and I think that will be the big thing that will make 2021 so much better of a year. Even though musically it hasn't been all that bad, but I can't say as much because I've had to cram like a motherfucker, so I can't enjoy it and have the rest of the year to do so. On most of it anyway, but and speaking of which, buddy, it's happening. It's happening. I'm working on something. I'll probably also joke that I haven't done the solo, but let's face it, it's a lot harder to try to remember some of these riffs and be able to crunch it in time for a fucking review. So it's happening. It's gonna happen sometime after this one. Unless somehow I don't get to it in time before the finals, but I have like one more day till I go back to work off of COVID leave, so I can pull this off. And I haven't had it yet. Mom has been doing better. For those who I do know and are worried, she's been doing better. And it's already reached the 2-week mark by Wednesday, so maybe by then I might be, and plus apparently someone else from the group got it. But she's going to be done by today or tomorrow, but either way, I'll be back to work by Wednesday, so. But if they won't let me in because I need to do a test, it's like, I don't have symptoms, so I guess I don't have it, really? Like, I haven't really shown any symptoms. Not really at all. If I had prevented it, it's just stress. It's the only thing, because I haven't had a loss of taste or smell. I know there are other symptoms besides that you get, and I know my mom apparently has experienced it because she got it from my aunt. So now, I don't think she's learned enough to wear a damn mask, but I don't know. But anyways, regardless of that, things are starting to sort of look up, I guess, but I gotta fight some BS, and apparently because it's Christmas time, I gotta worry about dealing with stuff like decorations and stuff over other places, so yeah, that's all that. But regardless of that Smasher thing, and there's like a description to that, his GoFundMe, since he's dealing with the cancer story. Most of you who are in this space that are Schmoedown rockers know that. So, but for the matter of rockers, yeah, this is going to happen. And apparently I also realized I got some Pantera albums I probably should do. Oh boy. Oh boy. Or at least attempt to do. maybe before the end of the year is over. Ugh. But yeah, it's going to be fun to try to cram all that in a month. And then try to actually do a talk about Spectacular and make sure I have it up. Probably leave it unlisted until it's time for me to actually, I don't know. Given that the plan is for the Patreon, and it turns out that's what the plan is for at least Spectacular. We don't know the full, eventually they'll probably show what the match will be, depending on who finally wins. I guess they said they're going to do it live, the finals, instead of premiering it, I guess. I guess that's the plan. Because apparently there's no thing for Patreon today, which blows. Because there's only this match and I knew they want all eyes on it. Yeah. So I don't have to worry about whenever I decide to record this. Yay. But the whole thing with this match, that's happened within the past week, I mean, Odd Couple and Deception, I was hopeful for at least the one, since knowing how this new system has been since the start of this year and how COVID's only really managed to make it worse and make this season the worst season we've had. And good luck hoping for the next season to start off strong since we're going to do virtual still. Or at least they're going to try to find a way to do safely teams. If then Emma Fife's job she's been able to do safely, by the way, which because of lockdown that's less likely to happen, but it's been the best way they've been able to do it. Able to do it in that type of setting. They can do that for the Schmoedown because originally they had to do it because of the circumstance. I don't know if the building for the Schmoedown Studios or whatever is up for them to be able to do a in-studio setting. I hope it is. And if that's the case, and they have to work around a way to doing the team's format, that way, then by all means, because right now they're stuck in virtual. The only thing is they're probably sacrificing doing teams division for Star Wars division and having more one-on-one matches, which honestly I think a lot of Star Wars fans Star Wars division fans would be more excited for, and I think that's the only thing that might be exciting. Because we already see plenty in singles and intergeekdom. And teams is starting to kind of blend in every aspect and even start bringing intergeekdom as a slice, which used to be just called Get Your Geek On, which was more interesting than just saying intergeekdom itself, but whatever. But that's what he's confirmed. He's done with teams, and it does hurt because honestly the teams division is the one that honestly throughout this entire thing has suffered the most, and I think it suffers more in the sense of being able to have any longevity with any of these teams outside of one season, or in given the way this season has been, any chance of any of these other teams that had a chance in the last season that had potential but never got a chance to truly showcase or prove it, like apparently we never got to see Hlavik in them. Like in the case of Swag, we had a team in Rogue 2 and that never went anywhere. Got to go anywhere outside of that one win, which sucks that we're never going to get to see what happens afterwards. And Hlavik on his own hasn't been as great as he has been in teams, even though he's tried to showcase as best he can in Inner Geekdom. But the moment they set up the brackets the way they did, I was like, I feel sorry for Hlavik because he's never going to be able to have a chance to prove because Barbarian's too much of a beast. And that's exactly what I was right. I was even more bummed for Janine having lost to Humphrey, but Humphrey probably needed some kind of a win, or at least through having worked with Coy, both the real rejects, and just having at least one win, despite one loss, they still had a win apiece in ways that most people weren't expecting. Yet alone, Alba has enough credibility now, just having forced Mike Galanowski to answer his 5, or at least force him to have to push himself to make sure nothing like what happened with Greg happened again, which I can't wait. I mean, because of that, what's happened in that Inner Geekdom division more so or less, both Alba, I don't know how much Greg will be available now because of the recent news with the movie he was involved in, and top of the engagement. Congratulations, Mr. Alba. If somehow you're watching this, I doubt it, but if somehow you're watching this, here you go. There you go. Congrats, dude. I've been a fan of the viewers. I just haven't been as loyal as some patrons, but in some way, maybe. But I always enjoyed the content you do, you and Alba and all other forms of company you bring along. I mean, you and Humphrey, I should say. I apologize for that, but I brought along. But regardless, now we have what will be our finals. The thing is, what we do get that I did see through the Patreon was Deception versus, because there was our debacle with what happened in the previous match with somehow Harloff revealing that match's win, but it still somehow turned out interesting. The knockout thing was, all it did was make Sam Levine look stupid as a manager in not doing the right thing and going with Janine after she just came off a win when Guy came off a loss. Granted, Guy did play better, but the thing is, Deception knew as fans themselves that apparently Ethan struggles in it, and he had to lean in classics apparently, and he had to lean on Janine to do it because she was good at it, and Janine has confirmed it herself. She was pissed. She was pissed according to something with Gucciverse. I've mentioned that in the last episode. It was insane. It was, Jesus Christ. That's what sucks. It's like we had a chance to see Time Machine again, and he didn't take it because because Guy was still in the number 2 spot. He's not going to be anymore. And that's how this season has been. The only thing you can do with him now is come up with what is apparently these cutscenes, which has led to all these matches. And Schmoeminati kind of confirmed we won't know until Spectacular or maybe the finals, but I doubt it with the finals. I think they really want to save something juicy like that for Spectacular when it happens. I don't know how they're going to do it and what their plan is, and I hope it's executed well enough given the circumstances. And it winds up being spectacular for what it is. So to speak, why some of you watch me? It's fine. I appreciate it, and I have literally 90 subscribers as far as I know, and I hope I didn't lose any, or if I gain some more, we'll find out later after I upload this. But as of the moment, for what I know, I have 90. I can finally, hopefully, reach 100 because at this point, it's only going to be a month before the end of the year. Let's just make that a goal. Let's, in 2020, the best way can. I'd very much appreciate that. Please. To Astro Omega, to Justin the Juice, to Christopher Woodburn, to a couple of my buddies who are to a couple of buddies of mine. A shout out to, I doubt he'll watch this one, but shout out to him for helping me with these uploads lately, figuring out a backup plan for uploading these videos to you, given my recent thing with having to be quarantined, and just to go anywhere, you'd only have to be relegated to your car unless you have to go out to pump for gas. That's another story. It's your story, but you're not as likely to deal with people, and if I do, I'll have to mask up anyway. It's good to have a mask in your car as a backup. Do that. But anyways, the matches themselves, which I should have already gotten to a while back. Double Deception, I kind of had a couple anyways. More so, I wasn't going to be surprised Deception pulled it, but this was definitely a good test because it was perfect rounds 1 and 2. It really decided in round 3. And it's more in the sense that the one question was challengeable because even I admit, a birthday isn't considered a holiday outside of maybe a president, but which even then that is, or yet alone Martin Luther King Jr., I guess. Yes, but that's here nor there. I don't even know if you have that in other countries as a holiday, but so it wouldn't really count entirely. So, but as the wording of the question of it being a holiday was understandably sketchy and definitely worth challenging. It made sense. He got a different question and managed to tie it, and then forced, which, if not for that, clearly, definitely being one of the deciding factors, small but deciding factors, when it was really the fact that Deception was not able to hit the 3 or the 5, surprisingly. And it kind of put Odd Couple in a position because he's killing it. And now Jeff Snyder can finally say, at the very least, within this season, he has been a finalist in 2 tournaments. Whether he can as a winner, not so much with the singles one, but he says he's a finalist now, and he has redeemed his loss in that finals by managing to be a finalist here by beating Deception, and at least halting Corruption's chance to do more damage before Spectacular. In terms of getting the faction belts. However, any chances of this, which was great for them, and given how Final Exam is playing, it's going to be what we're going to get is one hell of a final. But it does bother me in the sense that I want to see. I feel like the debut for what we got from the Misfits at the very least, and I knew the Witching Power. They apparently after Founding Fathers match with them, I think a lot of people want to see Witching Power in the future. Sure, as a team, Tom and Paul, it's been disappointing to see that they're 0-2. I think they can be a better team, but I'm actually, at this point, I'm actually gunning for a potential possibility that maybe Tom could get drafted in Corruption if somehow Mark Edward Hoyk stays in Corruption. Or I would like it even better if somehow him and Tom go into the dungeon, personally, obviously, Tom and them go into the dungeon, and they become the super team there if Tom doesn't get drafted there, or if Mark Hoyk's probably going to wind up getting drafted. But more likely she's going to want to keep Marcel McKee because Deception is a good team, and she's going to want to keep them as a team next season. Or at least she's going to find a way to do so through trades, if not draft her. Because signing her immediately is not going to happen. I think they're going to wind up having the draft thing happen. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's going to happen some way, with it now being probably everything virtual, so it's not going to be as much fun. And good luck doing the awards thing, and it matter anymore, but as far as that Odd Couple, that was one thing, and I was hoping for us to finally get the one and only chance we would have ever had, and never did get, which may wind up having to now be an exhibition match, and that would have been Founding Fathers in them, because instead it's Final Exam if you actually can read the E. But anyways, but this is good. Yama will finally get a chance to finally have gotten a team's belt, and on top of that, Lon, who has been such an underrated player, if Odd Couple, they've already been through the grind, and Odd Couple versus Sam will be an interesting thing, but it does bum me because Founding Fathers, any chance now that the Finstock Exchange will ever get to come back from this, because now they're officially, not Finstock has no involvement now in the Spectacular in any way now. They're screwed. And it's not looking good, and it's not looking good, and it's really making how Bateman's been acting a lot more understandable. And it makes me upset to have joined the Gucciverse so late in the fucking year when it had to have happened right around the time that Bateman had lost, when it shouldn't. That's the thing. It's not expected for Dan to not find a way. But this hurt, and that 2-pointer should have helped him, and he should have got the 3, and he should have won it. That's what I don't understand. That 2-pointer, it still pisses me off, and I think he's obviously doing well. Poor Lancaster didn't have a chance in his little scrimmage thing they had and somebody else that's going to be a patron is, I'm scared for it to be me, though. I'd love to see how C-Dub does. Or at least if he can do well enough against Ben to, at the very least, hopefully use him to get word for Harloff, since he's already told Harloff he's ready. But I don't know if he's going to get drafted or not. If anything, given that his work that he's been doing for them, and with him wanting to do a minor league, if that is even going to be a thing, C-Dub, you may wind up working for him more as a behind-the-scenes guy than actually as a competitor. I pray you do get to be a competitor, though. But given this minor league stuff, that's what's going to happen. Then there's the whole thing, Final Exam, Founding Fathers. It looked like Founding Fathers had a little bit more of the edge because Lon missed a little bit, but it wasn't only like one question. And everyone, and everyone else was at least able to go perfect and get their bonuses, which was great. And then there's but the second round was when things completely changed, and which sucked to see happen, and then see happen for Founding Fathers, and then like to give away these points, and then when Roca probably blamed himself for not sticking with his instinct, but understood he had to be strategic, and it's just more the fact that, and unfortunately they gave a 1 and a 2-pointer away, and it wound up backfiring completely because they got both of those right on top of every question right, putting the Founding Fathers in a difficult position. Luckily, they were able to do well enough to not get knocked out or TKO'd, to not give them that swag that much more points. So in that regard, they did fine, but they still couldn't answer their 5, and it forced Final Exam to win the match, or at least they did well enough to where Final Exam, to where it forced them to have to answer the 5 because Dan missed the 3 surprisingly. And we already saw him struggle in the last match trying to do just Intergeekdom mostly by himself anyway, which means he's got more work to do, and at this point any chance of him being a top tier player, for the first time we may see a division where Dan isn't an elite player. I hope he strives and proves us all wrong, and if they do, he knows Trek is a strength of his, and no one should fuck with him. But good luck having him, and then Mara eventually will come back. But with this, once this COVID, as long as COVID's still around, I don't think Mara is someone that will be a playable. And I think that was also huge. The fact that Koi was able to get as high up as they were in terms of points, and even come remotely close to where Gucci's at right now. Right now in points, without having Mara, says enough. But that's what hurts, because now my Dungeon's left with nothing, and literally lost our best player from one match, and really mostly through cancer, and also through the fact that Mark Ellis was a little bitch. Mark Ellis wasn't being a bitch. Correction. Mark Ellis just felt he had to do the right thing, when really the right thing was to just let it be, instead of allowing Chandru to whine like a little bitch and force you to give him a participation trophy moment to win a fucking belt. And I'm still gonna hold it over his head. This Chandru, I don't care if it's character thing or not. This is bullshit. And then what happened with Smash just further made it harder to, even almost to the extent of how people feel it's hard to watch this match, in the same sense as the Mara Rachel match. But yet somehow that match was hard, and looking back on it, it wasn't a very high scoring match. It was just more the sudden death was insane. That it went to sudden death, and how insane that sudden death was. Holy crap. But that's what happened with this. And good on Final Exam. I'm happy. I want to be happy, as being he is, despite him not being the Dungeon. You started off as Dungeon, and what you did for us, starting out for what was of this faction before it fell apart in front of my eyes, and it's not been good to be Dungeon Master, and then everyone wants to bitch at me and make me feel fucking awful for it, when fuck you. Dungeon still can be awesome, and I can still make it awesome, even if we're not seemingly much of anything anymore. And I can't even promote the Dungeon page the same way I used to. It's like, what the fuck can I do? Because everyone else thinks we're fucking losers. I feel like I've been a loser in 2020 in my own fucking life. I didn't expect to have to do that in here. And that's what pisses me off the most. But that's just why I was somewhat grateful that for Video Drew. Finally having the push she needed in that win against Kemp. But yet I feel bad for Kemp because I don't know if she'll get drafted again next season because of the way the showcasing is. And I feel like that's not the best way to do it. And it's the same for Janine situation. And she finally got to have a win, one that showed she built up momentum, and they could have further fueled on it if they had Time Machine instead. I don't think we'd be talking about deception at this point. And I don't blame Guy so much as it just was the fact that they knew Guy wasn't the player they needed to worry about. It was Ethan. And they preyed more on Ethan having to force himself to rely on Guy to pick up the slack, which we know he can't do by himself. Well, self in a genre that isn't his fucking wheelhouse, as opposed to being Janine's. But other than that whole thing with the Schmoeminati was great. It was great character work, and I'm glad we got to see something good out of him that we know he thrives even the best at, and it actually worked this time around, as opposed to feeling like he's been handicapped or crutched. The case of how he's doing it here, it doesn't. It actually feels like classic Guy. And he made this Schmoeminati thing work, or at least classic Guy character work. And why we like him in the first place, what keeps him interesting. And good luck drafting Guy, though I wouldn't mind seeing a potential possibility of an action reunion in the sense that maybe one member's a manager and one's a player, or they're both still involved as part of the same faction, at the very least, even if they're not going to be an actual team together. And that's fine. That's enough that I think Action Army would be all on board with whatever faction that is, or they wind up putting their eggs in one basket. And I feel bad for Sam, and that's why it just makes no sense. Because they got better, but not enough to matter. It just was more in a Makuga way of what he used to be back in the day when it was 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss. Dungeon needed a win more than they really did, and even if they did get one, it wouldn't have mattered. And I feel bad for the birthday buddy, or at least the only birthday buddy that's still involved in the Schmoedown itself, actually. But anyways, but you had to go up against my dungeon. And just Video Drew wanted to finally prove that what happened in her team's match with the Cuckoo's Mess, and that was bullshit and a fluke. That's why I'm very grateful now that this has happened. Overall, we'll have Final Exam. If Final Exam play the way that they did, they might have a chance against Odd Couple. But if Odd Couple stays as strong as they are, they may not. And if so far the only players involved in these teams that has weak points that are still a bit of an issue, it's Lon Harris. And that's the thing that's kind of going to be the more deciding factor, because so far we don't see it as much in Odd Couple, despite maybe Endraco having issues, but Endraco's proven he's still probably even a better player than Lon, but Lon has been doing great with his character work, and they've managed to make it work. He'll probably say some crazy stuff like he did with the whole Founding Fathers gag that he did with that promo, which was funny, but overall, I'm somewhat more enjoyed. I just want to feel more attached about this than I do. But it just bums me because now the only closest thing to a Founding Fathers Odd Couple match that we'll ever see is probably in an exhibition next season, if we even get that. But no, I'd love to do the championship thing, but I know Smash won't be in it this time, and it sucks that that's the case, because that's when the tables had turned too, because he didn't make it in his match, but the Dungeon still had a win because Parker was involved in it. And won his. And I think he used up all of his energy trying to beat Damon in that match, just so he can prove to everyone who remembers him as being the Hobbit in the fan leagues, or the other leagues, whatever. It's still a freaking debate with that. But anyways, what did you guys think of these matches? What did you think of the whole Schmoeminati confirmed sort of issue? Who do you got going in? I'm slightly thinking Odd Couple, but I don't. But I wish Final Exam well, especially for Oyama. some OG dungeon love to you via a swag squad drip drip, if need be. We still will welcome you back with open arms, even though even though I won't be the one pressuring you to go back to wearing the jacket and all that shit. You've done well enough to surpass that, and the fact that you finally pulled off a win against Roka this time around. I mean, the fact that they were able to beat Witching Power, well, whoever won that playing match wasn't going to be able to beat Founding Fathers anyway, but even though Misfits might have had more of a shot had things gone their way in their match against Witching Power, but I still stand by that. But anyways, I guess those are my thoughts for now until the finals happens and until Spectacular, which will be the last matches, things involving Schmoedown, and that's supposed to be weekly thing with matches. I guess maybe because it's 6 matches, I think what they're going to do is they'll have 2 portions of certain moments of Spectacular spread out, of certain matches Spectacular spread out each week, and I guess I'll only talk about certain sections of those Spectaculars, even though I'd rather talk about the whole thing instead, but maybe that's what I'll have to do when that happens. I'd rather not, but we'll see what goes down. But other than that, if you like this video, liked what I had to say, share this video as well if you want. If you like this, subscribe. Please also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you actually get notified. If it'll actually fucking do it, but and also link in the description as well for my Facebook page, so I can follow me there. Also for the GoFundMe page for the Smasher, Kevin Smets, for his #SmashCancer, which I guess there's also still a link to the Smashathon channel. I don't know if it's still up and active. You can try for that, though more likely if you want to see anything Smashathon related. Some of that did not get pulled, apparently, for some reason. That's just what sucks even more. I hope PJ and whoever was in charge of that found a way to still get a hold of what was left of the... Because somehow he found a way to get a hold of what was left of the stream portions from his end, but yet I don't think anybody else got their portions from their end, because they're going to have to find a way to get a hold of that. Because I didn't get a chance. I wanted to go back and check some stuff. I missed out with the Gucciverse thing. I wanted to see it. Because I had a fucking Blair issue, which didn't happen on the first part of the stream, but somehow that got cut off on the newer stream. It's corrupted. You've got some corrupted fucking StreamYards, motherfuckers, out there. Because that's what's happening with my phone. And maybe it's just me with some of what specific portions of StreamYard links you're using are corrupted in some way to where it's hard to watch it unless you watch it in the playback or the replay or whatever for me. And that's what's been an issue. Luckily, it doesn't affect Schmoedown premieres, just actual straight-up live streams. It's fucking weird for me, which is why I need to get a new phone in that regard for that, but I mostly just also need it because this phone's old and eventually, I'll be able to do my uploads without it. But anyways, like I said, all the things in the description below. Follow me there. I also have a Facebook page, blah, blah, blah. Blah. This is Rockin' Movies with Tyler. I've been Tyler. If you smell what the movie trivia Schmoedown rocks. Skybound Entertainment. Was the Smasher himself is cooking. Ooh, yeah. Dig it, brother. What you gonna do when the Schmoedown and SmashCancer run wild on you?